Good morning, guys. Microprocessors and microcontrollers are primarily used to process data. However, their applications are mirrored only when they are interacting with the outside world, and they do with that via an assortment of input and output devices. It is impossible to name a real-life application of an system on chip where I/O devices are not involved. There are either displays, sensors, activators, keyboards, or other devices that are connected to a microprocessor. We know that a microprocessor has a finite number of pins that it can use to interface with external devices. What happens in the case of having more input-output devices than pins? That's where programmable peripheral interface chips comes into the picture. In this post, we will be taking a look at one of the most popular peripheral parallel interface chip, the 8255 from Intel. This is the ultimate guide on everything related to 8255. Let us see about it. What is the use of 8255 IC? The 8255 is a programmable chip used for interfacing peripheral devices. It connects with a processor or a controller and increases the number of I/O pins that can be used in the system. It has three 8-bit ports used to connect I/O devices. Let me pass. What does that mean? That means we have 24 pins for interfacing input-output devices that are divided into three ports. Why? For additional control and features. We will find out more about that in a subsequent slides. Features of 8255 programmable peripheral interface. The important feature of 8255 are the 8255 is a programmable peripheral interface available in the form of a 40-pin IC which works on a power supply of positive 5 volt DC. It is compatible with a wide range of microprocessors and microcontrollers, making it wide popular. It has three 8-bit I/O ports, namely port A, port B, and port C, where port A and port B can function as a 8-bit input or output port. Bits of port C are divided into two subgroups of 4-bit each, port C upper and port C lower. There are other control pins which are used to specify and control the flow of data and operation of 8255. We will check them out soon. The port pins have the ability to source 1 milliamp current at 1.5 volts when programmed to function as output pins. This provides the capability of driving Darlington transistor for applications such as printers and high voltage displays. The most important feature of 8255 is that it is programmable. This means that the operation of 8255 can be controlled by programming the microcontroller appropriately. This gives us the freedom to use 8255 in a number of ways without having to change with wiring and connections. It has a few different modes of operations. This is awesome because we get the freedom to choose from a bunch of different functionalities. Let us understand the pin diagram and functions of each pins of 8255. Then we will learn the functions of 8255 and different modes of operation in detail. Let us see. The figure shows the pin diagram of 8255. The pin number 26 is VCC used to supply the power to the IC, usually at 5 volt DC with respect to ground. Pin number 7 is nothing but of ground. This ground pin, all the voltages are measured with respect to this pin. It is connected to the common ground of the circuit. There are 8 pins, PA0 to PA7, PA0 to PA7. These PA0 to PA7 pins are 8-bit bidirectional I/O pins, 8-bit bidirectional I/O pins used to send data to output from a device and to receive data from a input device. I will repeat it again back. This 8 pins 1, 2, 3, 4 and 37 to 40 or 8-bit bidirectional I/O pins are used to send the data to output from a device and to receive data from an input device. Next, coming to port B, PB0 to PB7. These 8 pins are of bidirectional I/O pins used to send the data to an output device and to receive the data from the input device. Coming to the pins PC0 to PC7, these 8 pins are being divided into 4 pins, that is PC0 to PC3. These 4 pins are used by 8255 for communicating with an I/O device, and the remaining 4 pins, that is PC4 to PC7, these 4 pins are used by 8255 for communicating with the I/O devices. The port C pins alone is being divided into 2 4-bit pins. PC0 to PC3 are being called as port C lower, and PC4 to PC7 are being called as port C higher pins. Both the port C higher and port C lower pins are being used by 8255 for communicating with an I/O device. Pin D0 to D7. These are the data pins used by the master, that is microprocessor or microcontroller, to communicate with 8255. All the data to be transmitted and received and control instructions are transmitted to and from 8255 through these pins. These are connected to the data bus of the microprocessor. Next, coming to this 6th pin, that is CS bar. This is an active low input pin. The microprocessor uses this input to select the chip 8255. If the microprocessor wants to select this 8255 IC, what the microprocessor will do is the microprocessor will send a 0 to this particular pin, pin number 6, by means of passing a 0 to this particular pin number 6 of 8255. This 8255 IC is being enabled, or it is being selected by means of the microprocessor. Coming to the 5th pin, that is RD bar. This is also an active low input pin used by the microprocessor to tell 8255 that it wants to read data from one of its port. I have told that it is having 3 ports, port A, port B and port C. If the microprocessor wants to read any data from these 3 ports, the microprocessor will send an active low signal to this particular pin number 5. Then coming to the pin number 36, this pin number 36 is a write pin. This is also an active low pin used by the microprocessor to tell 8255 that it wants to write data to any one of its port. Finally, coming to the pins A1 to A0, these are all the port address pins. They are used to select the ports with which the microprocessor intends to communicate. For value of A1, A0, that is 00, port A is being selected, 01, port B is selected, 10, port C is being selected, and if it is of 11, then it is being of control pin. I will repeat it, right? If this A1 and A0 pin is of 00, then port A port A are being selected, right? If this A1 and A0 are 0, 1, then port B is selected. That is, these pins are being selected. When it is of 0, 0, at that instant of time, this port A pins are being selected. If the microprocessor applies a 0, 0 at this pin, then this port A is being selected. If a 0, 1 is being applied to A0 and A1, then it is going to get port B is being selected. Port B 8 pins are being selected. Next, when it is of 1, 0, A1 is equal to 1, A0 is equal to 0, at that instant of time, port C is being selected. All the 8 pins of port C are being selected when 1 and 0 are being applied to pin A1 and A0. If 1, 1 is being applied, if 1, 1 is being applied, then the control port is being selected. That is, this control port is being selected. Finally, the pin what we have left is nothing but of the reset pin. This is an active high pin, that is pin number 35. This is an active high input pin used to reset the 8255. Immediately after resetting, all the 3 ports work as input port in mode 0. Right? Once the 8255 is being resetted, all the port pins, all the 3 port pins are going to act as input port pins, and it will act in mode 0. I will be telling what is mode 0. This 8255 will be functioning in 3 different modes: mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. Once the 8255 is being resetted, its port pins are going to act as input port pins, and it is going to function in mode 0. Right? This is about the pin details of 8255. Let us break down the functionality of each blocks now. First, we look into the data bus buffer. It is a bidirectional tri-state data bus. Notice that this connects every single blocks in 8255 with other blocks, except the read-write control logic. All the data flows through this bus. Port A, B, C are being divided into 2 groups, that is group A and group B. Group A and group B. So port A, A0 to A7, and port C upper, PC4 to PC7 belongs to group A. And similarly, the port C's lower, PC3 to PC0 and PB7 to PB0, that is port B 8 pins, and the lower port of port C, PC0 to PC3, belongs to group B. This group B. There are separate control units for group A and group B that get their control signal from the main read-write logic. The control logic receives individual control signals as inputs and respond accordingly. Group A control and Group B control blocks are connected to their respective group blocks. They control the flow of data and modes of operation at those ports. Controls of Group A and Group B represented by the control blocks Group A control and Group B control together makes up the control port. This port is used to specify the modes of operation and is manipulated by the microprocessor by writing control word. Hence, these two blocks are connected by the data bus in the diagram. These control blocks plays a crucial role as they ensure that ports can be used in a number of ways. Hence, 8255 gives a lot of freedom and control to the user, about which you are going to learn in this post. As you would have noticed in the pin diagram, there are no pins for the control port. This is because the control port is not supposed to be used for input or output purpose. This port is used by the microprocessor to give instructions to 8255 about the mode in which it wants to use a specific I/O port. Note, the data written at the control port by the microprocessor sets the mode of operation and it is called control word. Remember this term as it will be used a number of times in the rest of this post. To communicate with this port, the microprocessor needs to make the input at A1 and A0 to be both high. Already we have stated it while I am explaining the pin diagram. When both of these are high, 8255 knows the microprocessor is telling it to about the modes of I/O port that need to be chosen. There are two major modes of operation: I/O mode, bit set reset mode. In I/O mode, port A, port B and port C are used as 8-bit I/O ports. So what it is being named as I/O mode. In bit set reset mode, the bits of port C can also be used as an individual I/O bits and can be used to set and reset individually. Corresponding to each modes of operations, there are two different control words. In simple words, there are two different notations of what each bit of control word means, depending upon the mode selected out of the above two modes. If we see from outside, there is only one control port, but internally there are two different latches to store the control word for I/O mode and BSR mode. Control word for these modes are stored in the corresponding latches. Figure shows the control word format in input-output mode. This mode is being selected by making D7 is equal to 1, where this D0 pin is being meant for port C lower and this D3 pin is being meant for port C's upper, right? And pin number D1 is being meant for port B, 8 pins of port B. And this pin number D4 is being meant for port A. When this D0, D1, D3 and D4 are set, the corresponding port act as input port. Set means making it to 1. When this port D4, D3, D1 and D0, if you write a 1 to this particular bits, then it states that the particular port is going to act as a input port. If we write a 1 over here, then the port A, port C upper, port B and port C lower all are going to act as input ports. When it is being resetted, or else if we write a 0 to this particular port, writing a 0 to the bit D4, D3, D1 and D0 makes the port A, port B, port C lower and port C upper as output ports, right? So coming to this pin D2, this pin D2 is being meant for selection, group selection mode, right? So when this bit is of 0, it is going to act in mode 0. When it is being written as 1, when this particular bit is being written as 1, it is going to act in mode 1. The pin number D6 and D5 are being used for the selection of groups. We have two groups, group A and group B, right? So which group is being selected and in which mode it is going to operate is being decided by means of these two bits. When these two bits are of 0, 0, then it is of mode 0. When it is of 0, 1, it is of mode 2. When it is of 1x, it can be of 1, 1 or 1, 0, then it is of mode 3. First, we will learn about the IO mode. That is, IO mode is nothing but of mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. And then we will come back to the bit set reset mode, right? So first we are going to see about the IO mode. Now IO mode of operation, port A, port B and port C. That is port A, port B and port C. All these ports are going to act as input as well as output port. In IO mode of operation, port A, B and C of 8255 can function in any of the three different modes, mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. The IO mode control word is these modes can be selected by setting and resetting specific bits of the IO mode control word. You can observe from the figure how the microprocessor selects the mode of operation by using the control instruction at the control port. In other words, the diagram explains to you what exactly does the microprocessor write to the control port to set a particular port in a particular mode of operation. Let me make you clear. Let us see some example. You assume that you have to configure port A as simple input port and port B as simple output port and port C lower and upper as input ports, right? In IO mode, right? So what we have to do is, see this particular bit D7 is being meant for mode selection, IO mode or BSR mode, right? So if this particular bit is equal to 1 means then it is going to act in IO mode. So we have to write a 1 at D7 bit, right? Next, bit D6 and D5. These two bits are for group A mode selection, right? So here you assume one more thing, we are going to operate 8255 in mode 0, right? So mode 0. Since if you want to operate at mode 0, right, we have to write 0, 0 in this particular pin. If we write 0, 0, then it is going to act in mode 0. If we write 0, 1, it is in mode 1. If it is in 1, 0, it is in mode 2. Since here our objective was to act the 8255 in mode 0, what we have to do? We have to write a 0 over here in the bit D6 and D5. Next, coming to the bit D4. D4 bit is being meant for port A. Port A, right? So here our aim is to make port A as simple input pin, right? In order to make it as an input pin, what we have to do? We have to write a 1 over here. If we write 0, then it will act as an output port, right? Next, bit number D3, right? D3 is being meant for port C upper, right? Here our objective is to make port C upper as input pin, so again a 1 over here. Next, bit D2. This D2 is nothing but of group B's mode selection, right? Group B mode selection. Group B mode selection is also of mode 0, so it is of 0 over here. So the final two bits D1 and D0 are being meant for port B and port C lower, right? This is for port B. Here our aim is to make port B as output port, so we have to write a 0 over here, and port C lower also of output port, so we have to write a 0 over here, right? So after filling this ones and zeros, what we have to do is we have to convert this binary to hexa value. So 10101 is nothing but of 9 and 100 is of 8. So 98H is nothing but of the control word which we obtain for making port A as simple input, port B as simple output, port C lower as output, port C upper as input. Similarly, you take one more example, that is what we have to do is we have to configure all the ports as output port in the IO mode. In the IO mode, mode 0 is being selected. We are going to select mode 0 and we are going to configure all the ports as output ports. So if you want to configure all the ports as IO port, it is simple. What we have to do? We have to apply 0 for all. That is, this D6 and D5 are being meant for mode selection. Here it is of mode 0. For mode 0, we will be applying 0, 0, right? And all other pins D4, D3 are being meant for port A, port C upper, this is for port C lower, and this is for port B, and this is for group B mode selection, right? So port A is of 0, port C is of 0, port B is of 0, port C lower is also of 0, which means these ports are going to act as output port. Mode 0 is being selected, so this particular pins D6 and D7 are of 0, 0, and also this D2 bit is also of 0. Group B mode selection is also of 0, right? All the pins are of 0, all the bits are of 0, right? So this D7 is being meant for IO mode. In order to operate in IO mode, this alone must be of 1. So we will be getting 1000 followed by means of 40, which is equivalent to 80, right? This is how we'll be writing the control word. Let us see about the modes of operation. Mode 0. In this mode, the 8-bit port A of 8255 IC can be configured as input or output port. In the similar fashion, port B can also be configured as input or output operation. However, there is flexibility for the port C. It can be divided into two 4-bit ports, that is port C lower and port C upper. Each of them can be set independently for input or output operations. In this way, we can say there are 4 ports port A, port B, port C lower and port C upper, and each of them can be set either as input port or an output port. Here these ports are simple input or output ports. That means these ports can work without handshaking. In this mode the outputs are latched whereas the inputs are not latched. Let us see about mode 1. This mode uses handshaking to make the exchange of data more efficiently. But what is handshaking? In mode 1 and mode 2 operation of I/O ports, the I/O devices and the processor can communicate with each other apart from the exchange of input and output data. It goes down like this. When the input device writes data at a port, it tells the port that new data has entered. The port then informs the microprocessor that new unread data is there at port. When the microprocessor is done reading the data, the port informs the input device that the data on the port is ready and new data can be entered. This communication happens using some signals called handshaking signals. This process is referred to as handshaking. It is named so because it is similar to handshaking between two strangers before they start talking to each other. The lines of port C are used for handshaking signal when it is operating in mode 1 and mode 2. Thus, only port A and port B can work in mode 1 while port C provides handshaking signals. 3 handshaking signals are required for a port to operate in handshaking mode. Hence, port A and port B can both work in mode 1 simultaneously with 2 lines of port C still remaining. The unused lines of port C for handshaking can be used for I/O in mode 0. The table specifies which lines of port C provide the handshaking signal for port A and B. One of the 3 handshaking signal is interrupt signal. This is an output signal from 8255 which interrupts the microprocessor when required. The 8255 provides additional functionality to enable or disable interrupts depending upon the requirements. When the interrupts are enabled, the I/O operation related to 8255 are called interrupt driven I/O operation, and when the interrupts are disabled, they are referred to as status check operation. This is because when interrupts are disabled, the microprocessor is not interrupted. It has to check if new data has arrived at the input buffer or new data is needed at the output buffer to initiate the read or write operation respectively. Don't worry about technically right now. Just focus on the fact that there are 2 ways of data transfer. One is of interrupt driven and next is of status check transfer. As you can observe in the block diagram below, representing the simplified internal block structure, there are 3 enable interrupt flip-flop marked with star. The value stored in these flip-flops determines the enable status of the flip-flop. Now it is a little tricky here. Let us understand the process in steps. Let us first consider port B. Port B. When port B is being programmed for mode 1, input or output, the PC2 is being reserved for one of the input handshaking signal. When port B is in mode 0, right? When port B is in mode 0, this PC2, it is going to work as a normal I/O bit, right? Under mode 0. Similarly, when port A is being configured, for mode 1, this PC4 is going to act as a handshaking, right? For port A programmed as output port in mode 1, PC6 is going to act as a handshaking. Let us discuss about interrupt driven mode 1 input operation. We can configure port A and port B to work in mode 1 independent of each other. In either case, there will be 3 handshaking signals provided by the lines of port C. Let us first discuss about this STB. It is an active low input signal for 8255. The input device gives a low going pulse at this pin whenever it has a data to send to the microprocessor. When the pulse ends, that is, when the STB pin goes from 0 to 1, the data provided by the input device is latched to the input buffer. It means that the input data is stored at the port of the microprocessor to pick up. Next about IBF, input buffer full. This is an active high output pin of 8255. It indicates the status of input buffer whether it is full or not. It goes high when there is a data in the input buffer. It tells the microprocessor that there is a new data to be read at the input port, and also tells that the input device that there is unread data at the port, and if you write a new data, previous data may be lost. It goes low when the microprocessor reads the data. When the microprocessor reads something, at that time this input buffer full will become 0. Next, we will see about this INT pin. This is an active high input output pin of 8255. Here INT stands for interrupt. Whenever there is a pulse at this strobe pin, there is some new data coming into the input buffer. When this pulse occurs, the INT signal goes high. This signal is connected to the interrupt pin of microprocessor. It interrupts the microprocessor and urges it to read the new data. When the microprocessor reads the data, the read signal input pin of 8255 goes low, indicating read operation. When this read operation starts, INT goes low as it has accomplished its purpose of interrupting the microprocessor and telling it to read the data. Don't be overwhelmed if the functions of pin is not still clear. Let us now go through the process of data input from an input device. As we go through the process step by step, we will be referring to the timing diagram below. Step 1. Whenever there is a new data. The step 1 is nothing but of whenever there is a new data, there is a low going pulse on active low signal pin STB. Whenever there is a data in the input pin, there is a low going pulse. There is a low going pulse on the active low signal pin STB, which exists for 500 nanoseconds. It indicates that there is a new input data. It indicates that there is a new input data. Since there is a new input data, the data is stored in the input buffer until it is being ready. The next step is to indicate that the input buffer is occupied by the unread input data. The input buffer IBF signal goes high. This happens after a maximum of 300 nanoseconds of starting the pulse of this STB. The next step is during all these, the data from the peripheral is available at the input port, and it is supposed to be available at the at least 180 nanoseconds after the end of the STB pulse. It is shown in the timing diagram. That is, after 180 nanoseconds of the end of this strobe, after 180 nanoseconds of the end of the strobe, the data is being available. Within 300 nanoseconds of the end of the strobe pulse, the INT signal goes high. The INT signal goes high, interrupting the microprocessor. The microprocessor should be programmed to read the data from the port using IN instruction on receiving this interrupt signal. As the microprocessor takes action, that is, reads the data from the input port, when it is interrupted, the read signal goes low, indicating the read operation at the port. When 8255 gets read signal, it knows the data at port is being ready, and after the end of the read signal with a maximum of 300 nanoseconds, the INT signal goes low. This is how the pins function. We have seen the details of input operation in mode 1. Now let us learn the handshaking process and details of interrupt driven output operation in mode 1. The three handshaking signals are provided by the pins of port C or acknowledge, ACK, OBF, output buffer full, and interrupt. This acknowledge is an active low signal. This acknowledge signal, when the output device wants the data and reads data from a port, it sends a low signal, right? When the output device wants the data and reads data, when it reads data from the port, this acknowledge signal is being set to 0. And OBF is nothing but of output buffer full. It is an active low output pin of 8255. When there is an unread data in the output buffer, 8255 makes this signal low. And when the data present in the output buffer is ready, this signal will become 1. Coming to this interrupt INT pin, an active high output pin of 8255. The 8255 interrupts the microprocessor using the signal to tell that the data at the output buffer has been ready and the new data is required. Let us see the timing diagram of interrupt driven output operation in mode 1. When the output device wants to read data, it reads from the output buffer, because we know that the data will be in the buffer, and sends a low going pulse at the active low input pin acknowledge, indicating that it has received the output data. This pulse will last for 300 nanoseconds. As soon as the acknowledge pin goes low, it indicates that it has received the output data, and the pulse lasts for 300 nanoseconds. After a maximum of 350 nanoseconds from the start of this acknowledge pulse, OBF, output buffer system, goes to 1 from 0. From active to inactive, that is from low to high, indicating that the data in the buffer has been read and it no more contains new data. To visualize properly, refer to the timing diagram what I am showing now, right? After a maximum of 350 nanoseconds from the end of acknowledge pulse, the INT signal goes high. By doing this, the 8255 interrupts the microprocessor and tells it that the data at the output buffer has been read and you need to write new data into it before the output device needs new data. So after getting this interrupt signal from 8255, the microprocessor will take proper action and write data on the output buffer. The data will be stored in the output buffer. For writing this data, the input signal, that is to 8255, that is WR, will go low, indicating that a write operation takes place. Now, since the write operation has taken place and the new data has not been read by the output device yet, there is no need for interrupt signal to be high. So, the interrupt signal goes low after a maximum of 850 nanoseconds from the activation of write signal. Also, since there is unread data at the output buffer, the output buffer signal should also become 0 after a maximum of 650 nanoseconds from the end of this write pulse. Let us now discuss about status check input operation in mode 1. In this mode, the interrupt is disabled. Hence, the microprocessor won't be interrupted by the 8255. In order to determine if the data transfer is needed or not, we need the microprocessor to perform a status check, right? So, no one is going to interrupt. It automatically is going to check its status. So, it is being called as status check input operation. The diagram shows the handshaking signal provided by port C for status check input operation of port A and port B respectively. Let us consider port B. Handshaking signals are provided by PC2, PC1 and PC0. INTE. This signal tells enable status of port B, that is whether the interrupt for port B is enabled or not. In this case, it must be low. So next is of IBF. This is an active high output signal of 8255. It indicates whether the input buffer is filled with new data or not. If IBF is equal to 1 means then the input buffer is full, and IBF is equal to 0 means that the input buffer is empty. In order to know whether new data has arrived or not, the microprocessor should check the status of this signal. Next, about INT. Now let us go through the process of status check input operation at port B in mode 1. When the input data device wants to give input, it checks IBF. If IBF is low, indicating that the input buffer is empty, it gives a pulse at STB and sends the input data. The new data is latched to the port buffer. Since there is unread data at the port buffer, the IBF signal goes high. Now, whenever the microprocessor reads IBF, the high value of IBF will signify that there is new data at the port, and the microprocessor will know that it need to read the input signal data. But since interrupt is disabled, INT always remains low in status check operation. The status check output mode operation is quite similar. It is also, let us discuss about the status check output operation in mode 1. It is almost similar to that of the status check input operation, but instead of IBF signal, there is an active low OBF signal. Handshaking signals are being explained here. the diagram shows the handshaking signal provided by port C for status check output operation for port A and port B respectively. The INTE signal tells the EI status, enable status of port B, that is whether the input interrupt for port B is enabled or not. In this case, it must be low, as similar to that of the input operation in mode 1. Next is of OBF, output buffer full. This is an active low output signal. It indicates whether the output buffer is filled with new data or not. When OBF is equal to 0 means that the output buffer is full, and OBF is equal to 1 means the output buffer is empty. When the output device wants to read data, it checks output buffer. If output buffer is low, indicate that the output buffer has new unread data. It gives a pulse at acknowledge and read the data from the output buffer. Since there is no unread data at the port buffer now, the output buffer signal goes high. Now whenever the microprocessor reads output buffer, the high value of output buffer will signify that there is no new data at the ports, and the microprocessor will now know that it need to output new data. But since interrupt is disabled, interrupt always remains low during the status check operation. You can refer the timing diagram what we have discussed for interrupt check input operation in mode 1 and output operation in mode 1. The only difference is the interrupt signal remains low for status check operation. Next is about mode 2 operation. Mode 0 and mode 1. In mode 0 and mode 1, port A and B can only work as either input port or output port. But in mode 2, port A can play both roles simultaneously. A port programmed in mode 2 can take input and give output. Since data transfer is bidirectional in mode 2, handshaking signal requires are also more. There are 5 handshaking signals required for port A to function in mode 1. These are provided by port C pins PC3 and PC3 to PC7. The remaining 3 pins can function as handshaking pins for port B working in mode 1, or can function as normal IO pin if port B is programmed to work in mode 0. Note, it can be easily deduced that only port A can work in mode 2 since only 3 pins of port C remains after allocating handshaking signal to port A in mode 2, and the required number of port B also to work in mode 2 is of 5, that is port A, mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2 operation. Port B is being meant for mode 0 and mode 1 operation only, and port C is being meant for mode 0 operation. In all other modes it is going to act as handshaking signals. The handshaking signals and their functions must be clear from the diagram. Recall the details of mode 1 input and output operation. In mode 2, the operations are quite similar. You can think of it as both input operation and output operation from mode 1 are combined to form mode 2 operations. You just pass and go back to interrupt driven input operation in mode 1 and once again listen to it. This time you keep only port A in mind. This is how the input operation takes place in mode 2. Similarly, go to interrupt driven output operation in mode 1 and once again you listen it by keeping port A in mind. This is how output operation takes place in mode 2. You must have noticed that there are separate status pins IFB and OBF and separate pins acknowledge and STB for input and output, but there is just one single interrupt pin for both the operations. Thus, when the microprocessor is interrupted, it needs to check OBF and IBF signal also to determine what kind of operation is needed. These operations are interrupt driven, but interrupt can be disabled. In fact, initial interrupts are disabled and we need to enable them. enabling and disabling of interrupters discussed in the section on mode 1 operation under the heading enabling and disabling the interrupts we have already discussed. If we disable this interrupt, status of IO operation takes place by checking the status signal of OBF and IBF. The interrupt signal always remains if disabled. You can go to status check input operation and status check output operation under the heading mode 1 stopped IO or handshaking IO. Again, you keep it in mind port A while listening to it. This is how status check bidirectional data transfer takes place. As stated before, bits of port C can be set and reset individually in bit set reset mode. It is achieved by writing the appropriate control instruction at the control port. These instructions are called bit set reset mode control word. The figure shows what you need to write on the control port to manipulate the bits of port C in BSR mode. That's all for 8255 programmable peripheral interface. In our next post, we are going to explain the interfacing of 8255 with microprocessor. We will also cover the interfacing of 8255 with 8251. We hope you understood the concept underlined here. If you still have any doubts or follow-up questions, leave a comment below and we will get in touch with you. Thank you.